The Golden Gate Bridge, California's golden monument. A great place to take a picture. Beautiful, isn't it? Not for everyone. Sometimes it's a place where people go to end their life. This is the story of two Kevins. Both of them met one fateful day on the Golden Gate Bridge, a day that would change their lives forever. It was 2005. A young black man named Kevin Berthia had reached a breaking point. He was 22 years old and life had hit him hard from a very young age. He was 6 months old when he was adopted. His adopted parents loved him, but their marriage became rocky. They started fighting, and when Kevin was 12, they got a divorce. His home life changed, for although his parents loved him very much, things just weren't the same. Kevin was very depressed. Much later, he would learn that he was born with major depression disorder. For the longest time, he would not know why he felt so bad all the time. But he never spoke to anyone about any of it. Not about his childhood, not about his adult life, where he came from, Oakland. People never talked about what bothered them. They just kept it inside because reputation was everything. And a young black man's reputation had to be strong. A few years later, Kevin became a father, and now he was a young man with a lot of responsibilities. His daughter was born early, so that she had to be put in an incubator for 8 weeks. Her medical treatment was expensive. Soon, Kevin owed a lot of money, around $250,000. He blamed himself. Why were things not working out for him? Why did he always feel so terrible? He couldn't take it anymore. So on March 11th, Kevin Berthia made a decision. Kevin decided the Golden Gate Bridge was where he would end his life. It would be the first time he would go to the Golden Gate Bridge. Even though he lived in California, he didn't even know how to get there. He had to ask for directions more than once. When he finally found it, he parked his car and took a walk. On the red bridge that spans the Golden Gate between San Francisco and the Pacific Ocean, Kevin Berthia stopped. For a moment, he looked out at the vast sky. Then he turned to lock eyes with an officer before he swung over to the other side. "Hey, wait a minute," someone said, and that made Kevin stop, hold on to the bridge, balanced on its beam 220 feet above the ocean. Only one backward tilt and it could all be over. That day was a fateful day for another Kevin. He was California Highway Patrol Officer Kevin Briggs. Officer Briggs began patrolling the Golden Gate Bridge in 1994. He hadn't trained for jumpers when he first started, but he knew of suicide. His grandfather had killed himself when his father was young. Since the bridge opened, 1,600 people had jumped to their deaths. This number only accounted for recovered bodies, so the real number is much higher, making the Golden Gate Bridge one of the world's most famous suicide spots. As a new officer, Briggs had no choice but to learn on the job. Until he was trained in crisis, he had a couple of tools. Armed with his even tone and kindness, he stopped about 2 people a month from jumping over. It was Officer Briggs who had locked eyes with Kevin B. before he disappeared from his view. He was the one who said the fateful words, "Hey, wait a minute." It was the kindness in his voice that made a young father stop. Wait. Stand on the cord, balanced. Sergeant Briggs thought he had lost this young man to the water below. Sometimes he was not successful in stopping people, but this was not one of those times. As Briggs rushed over, heart racing, he heard a voice reply, "Stay back." The younger Kevin was still there, holding on. "I just want to talk. I know you think things are bad, but they can get better." It was 92 minutes before Kevin Berthia made another decision. He came back over to the other side. The photo of him standing on the edge of the bridge with Kevin Briggs leaning over him is called one of the 75 most iconic photos of the 21st century. Kevin B. knows he made the right choice that day when he went back onto the bridge. He's become a wonderful father as well as an active member of the community by helping others who are suffering as a suicide prevention advocate. Officer Kevin Briggs retired, but he too continued to focus on mental health full-time and suicide prevention. Both Kevins would meet almost 10 years after that fateful day at a ceremony by the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, where Kevin Berthia would present Officer Briggs with a Public Service Award. Officer Briggs was recognized for having prevented the death of more than 200 people who had come to the end of their lives on the bridge. For this, he's now known as the guardian of the Golden Gate Bridge, a true hero. If you or a loved one is struggling with suicidal thoughts, please call 988 the nationwide suicide and crisis lifeline.